I'm here with the legend himself, Dr. Ed Group from Global Healing, the Global Wellness Forum, doing incredible things all around the world, making waves right now in many incredible ways around the world. We're going to be talking about some incredible things from how to cultivate sexual energy, what that even means, how that ties into urine therapy. Some of you may think we're crazy, some of you may get it. All of you will be helped from what you're actually going to hear today. And of course, we're going to be speaking about things like biophotonic gold that Dr. Group is going to be bringing forth with his knowledge base today. So, first and foremost, before we dive in, Ed, my good friend, my brother, I want to say thank you very much for being here.
Oh man, we have so much fun together. We just connected. We're just on in this lifetime. I'm so glad that we got back together again and we're doing great things with the main goal of just trying to help people transition to a more enlightened body, mind, and soul. So thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So before we dive into the first topics of however this whole thing is going to fly, I just want to let you all know Dr. Ed Group is one of the four individuals, myself included, that are going to be headlining an incredible event, a life-changing event. I call it the event of the year because that's really what it's going to be in January of 2026 called Becoming Superhuman in Miami, Florida. If you want to learn more about that, watch this interview. But of course, you can go to my website linked in the description below this video jasonshurka.com/superhuman to learn all about it. Now, with that on the topic of becoming superhuman, I'd actually love to just dive right into a topic that you're very well known for, a topic that I've experienced myself. So this isn't just somebody speaking about it. I can vouch for this myself as well. I've done it myself. Some people are like, what the hell is wrong with you? It's toxic. And what I'm talking about here is urine. So let's dive into urine therapy for anybody who's never heard about that, because most people hear it and they're like, what do you mean? Urine's toxic. You shouldn't touch it. It's really bad. Stay away from it. And the people that use it as a form of therapy, a lot of people do call crazy, but a lot of people are coming around to understand the science behind it. So let's dive in wherever you want to start on that front because you're so knowledgeable about it, on what that is and how it intertwines with overall health and becoming superhuman.
Well, it's a great place to start. Let me give people a little bit of a back history first. I have a passion for trying to find documents or books or healing methods that have not ever been revealed. And I've been studying and looking for these ancient secrets, like these ancient books. Most of the documentation that has been saved and preserved has been in the ancient Taoism healing arts. Now, the ancient Taoism is in China, and that goes back 4 or 5 thousand years of documentation, which I actually believe that they got their information from the Atlanteans and the Palladians and the Sumerians, etc. It's the only history. And in China, they have literal, I mean, massive libraries. Probably only 5% of these ancient documents have been translated. It's crazy. We don't have anywhere else on the world that has that. I like to go back and look at what intrigues me is the individuals in the documentation from these ancient superhuman. This was all about becoming superhuman. This is these ancient cultures, the technologies that they used, they would live, and there's documentation 400 years, 600 years. Even in the Bible, it talks about people living to 400 or 500, 600 years.
Yep.
These were the fountain of youth secrets. These were the secrets of longevity. This is what I've been studying extensively and training with the masters. I just got back from Indonesia for the really, really heavily because I've accumulated the data over the last 30 years, but I wanted to go actually talk to the people in the lineages, the people that translated the text, the grand masters. You don't even get to be a grand master for years, in Tibet, Nepal, all that, these individuals that start off and they're in caves for 10, 20 years meditating and trying to achieve the level of immortality and the level of health and the level of it's all really based on spiritual growth. I mean,
Yep.
everything, all the ancient knowledge and all the ancient healing techniques are based on spiritual growth, including urotherapy, which in the ancient text they call Amrita, Amrita. And there's multiple different uses. They used urine for powering stuff. They used urine for fertilizer. They used urine for gunpowder. They used urine for all different types of skin healing. They used it actually to transform during meditation, which we'll talk about a little bit later because all of these ancient healing arts, and this is, by the way, this is before traditional Chinese medicine. It was the original Taoism, and then it became TCM. Same in Ayurvedic history. In the ancient Indian culture, it was Kama Sutra. That's the healing. People associate Kama Sutra with sex positions. And this is where everything gets entangled. Kama Sutra was never about sexual positions. If you read the text, I mean, there's thousands and thousands of translated documents on Kama Sutra. It was how to preserve life, how to become a superhuman, how to react and create a balanced family. The small section on sexual positions was actually sacred lovemaking positions that the husband and wife could use to heal. And this is where we've gotten into, and they use these positions to heal diseases and also increase immortality. But the main reason they use these sacred lovemaking positions was to enhance spirituality in the Indian culture and in the ancient Taoism. It was all about it was a trick basically. It was to speed up your meditation, to speed up your spirituality,
Yep.
and to speed up your union with God because they realized that it could take you years or months or years with just regular meditation to reach the lower levels of the astral, et cetera, and to go up. Really, you're activating the kingdom of heaven within. Every religious text says that the kingdom of heaven is within, and that's been known for thousands of years. The question is, how do you activate it? And they didn't know, so they would sit in caves for years and do this. When they realized the sacred lovemaking methods of the union of the masculine and the feminine, the definition of sacred lovemaking was not sex, right? Like you can say lovemaking now, and what pops into someone's head is sex.
Yes.
Sacred lovemaking, according to the ancient documents, was making the frequency and vibration of love. Love making. So you're making love, right? You're making the vibration and frequency of love. So when the male and the male and the female got together and they generated through these sacred lovemaking practices, they generated this high level of energy and frequency and love that would vibrate through all of the cells of the body. And then they would get into a position together and then they would meditate or they would meditate separately. Now, when you get to the higher level, then you actually start talking about sacred urine at that point, because as the male and the female go through a sacred lovemaking process, which can last hours, and there's different methods, and I don't actually just study these things; I practice these
Yes.
things. This is the difference between most practitioners out there that are teaching that have a vested interest to like sell you products or something like that, and they teach expecting something in return. We teach not expecting anything in return. We
I
do
just
what we
wanna I
do.
want to reiterate one thing on what you said, that on the topic of you actually practicing what you're saying instead of just teaching, but practicing and applying yourself. You and your wife Daniela were just in where I think Thailand with Montauk Chia. For those who don't know Montauk Chia, he's one of the known masters that help teach how to cultivate that sexual energy. And Ed and Daniela were there for a couple weeks, actually learning firsthand. So just wanted to add that tidbit in there to back up what you're saying.
Well, yeah, thank you. And I was just going to add, speaking of urine therapy, during a sacred lovemaking session, which can last an hour to 3 hours, or it can even last days at a time. See, this is what they taught of how to cultivate these things. What would happen is you would highly energize your urine with the frequency and the vibration of love. And then after the lovemaking session, the male will drink his urine and the female will drink her urine, and then they would go into meditation. And in meditation, by practicing these things, meditation would take you right up. You would become enlightened. So you didn't have to spend months in a cave. You could just go through these processes. Now, these are processes that were used, and yes, most of them were just used for the elite, unfortunately, because these were technologies that needed to be practiced in the elite, just like the ancient X schools in ancient Egypt. that would only reserve the liquid biophotonic gold for just the elite class.
Mhm.
But we what I like to do is I want to share all these things with humanity. And the strange thing is like the word sex was originally developed around 1300, but it was designated to define whether you are a male or a female, right?
Mhm.
Around the last 100 years, sex was changed into like effing and stuff. It became the powers to be, I believe, really kind of knew how to alter the human structure and keep you from progressing spiritually by distracting you in many different ways. But they got away from teaching sacred lovemaking, and it ended up being this very fast pounding situation, which causes trauma. According to the ancient texts, even women can hold frequencies and energies of every man they sleep with from 7 to 12 years.
Wow.
So what I believe happened was the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and the people controlling the world, the evil people, they took what was very sacred and very powerful because you become enlightened, and when you become enlightened you can become semi-immortal, and you can actually have control over they talk about people having control after doing this for 3 years, 6 years, 9 years, and 12 years, that you would have you at 12 years practicing the sacred lovemaking and drinking the sacred urine, you would have full control over all the elements of the earth. That means you could fly in the air, you could walk on water, you could be in a fire and not burn. You had there's documentation that says that even in the Damar Tantra, which was written 4,000 years ago. So these were ways to preserve the human in anti-age, and you can still practice these things today and almost stop your aging process or regenerate, because as the male and the female practice this, when they finish and they drink their urine, they can even sit together and you can do it. You can manifest. Another thing it was used for was manifestation. So you have such a power of vibration, which they called the internal. They didn't use the word orgasm, but it's an internal enlightenment that you feel. Now the modern day Taoists call it an internal orgasm. And this also has to do with the semen retention of the male, which we can get into a little bit later.
Yep.
But back to the urine therapy, urine is so powerful, and it can be done to where it can literally be enhanced a millionfold, to where you can set the intention even into your urine if you're practicing the sacred lovemaking. Of course, you don't have to do that. You can still put the intention into your urine, and it can do amazing things because your intention will manifest in the urine what you need. Just like you and I have been talking about, urine is the universal vaccine. Urine is the universal antibody. Urine has over 5,000 components in it. Urine is the most highly energetic compound. They've done studies in India where they've taken a liter of someone's urine and powered a medium-sized house, and it produced 6.4 kilowatts of electricity. Urine is liquid gold. It was referred to as liquid gold, and it actually has gold nanoparticles in it. And that's one of the reasons why gold and semen in males, semen is the largest concentration of biophotonic gold. That's why semen never went to waste, and urine never went to waste, because there's even ancient recipes that I've read where people collected their urine and put them out in the sunlight, and it actually started growing gold. It actually started producing gold. So these are the ancient methods that I'm going to be sharing on how to become a superhuman, because how to become a superhuman is just changing your mental status. And nobody in the world right now that I know of has these secrets, because I've traveled for the last 3 years and got all the secrets, and they're going to be presented for the first time ever at becoming a superhuman at your event. So
Going to be awesome. It's really
if you want
like,
all these secrets, you better be at the event. And even the urine, look, I've read stories about create. You know what the secret is to the Philosopher's Stone? For those of you who don't know what the Philosopher's Stone is, it was in ancient history the most revered and sought after stone. only documentation that we can find of maybe three or four alchemists ever that's been able to create the Philosopher's Stone. This is what the kings and the queens and the royal courts of every high end, the elites, wanted. This Philosopher's Stone there's two different types of Philosopher's Stone. There's the red Philosopher's Stone and there's the white Philosopher's Stone. The red Philosopher's Stone, you could touch it to any metal and it'll turn to gold. Not only that, the red Philosopher's Stone, it was a stone of immortality. If you just took a little piece of it and you chewed it, it would reverse people from 80, 100, 400 years old back to when they were 30s. Okay, it would completely regenerate you. It would take you back in time, roughly to around the age of 25 to 35. I've searched for years. I've studied alchemy from all over the world, from the great alchemists, and they'll always tell you you will not get the final piece to the philosopher to how to make the philosopher's stone until you are ready. Because the secret to making the philosopher's stone is the alchemist himself or herself has to be on a certain level of spirituality and a certain level of knowledge, a certain level of enlightenment, a certain level of coming from non-ego, coming from non-judgment, coming from forgiveness. Because part of the process of making the philosopher's stone is the person who's making it. I found out, and I found out what the secret ingredient was about 5, 6 years ago.
I'm
And you
assuming
know
it's
what
urine.
the secret ingredient is the alchemist's own urine. And you don't even need to make a philosopher's stone. In the ancient texts, they talk about red mercury urine or amrita. Red mercury urine is where anyone can do it. You just pee in a glass, a mason jar, and let it breathe for about 6 days with some cheesecloth, and then seal it up, and then solarize it in the sun for a few days, and then you want to put it out for the full moon so you can lunarize it, and then you just let it sit. You let it sit in your closet or somewhere that the temperature is just stable. And when the urine turns red mercury color, which is usually about a year to 2 years, that is the highest level, what they call the urine philosopher's stone. It's the most potent and the most powerful urine. And then, you know,
What are you
what you
supposed to do
can
with that?
what
Let's say
you can
somebody
do with
goes through
that
that
is you can
process.
do, it is very, very powerful. It holds all the generational codes from your past history. Like, let's say you had a million lifetimes here or anywhere other planet, it holds all those codes. And what you do with it is it works almost like the Philosopher's Stone. It helps to regenerate you. It helps to reduce the aging process. You put it on your skin and it helps rejuvenate your skin. If you get sick, you can use it for multiple different purposes. Now, how you do it is you put it in you can do 10 or 20 or 30 cc's in a syringe and you just do a mini enema. They have these silicone applicators online that you can use and you just give yourself mini enemas. Now, what I did with it is I made a mistake. My wife had her red mercury urine, the philosopher's urine, and I had my philosopher's urine. And I just experiment on myself all the time. And for some reason, I just was, they were the red color. And I woke up one morning and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I took 1 cc of my red mercury urine. I took 1 cc of her red mercury urine and I injected it directly into my gluteal muscles because there is some reference, not in the ancient text, but in the last couple 100 years of people using that as a very powerful regenerator, and it clears all of the past life memories and all that other stuff. And basically, you transform over a period of 3 months, right? Once you do the injection, your body processes. It's not easy. And by the way, I do not recommend anybody do this, the injection. So I just want to be clear on that. I was experimenting, and what I did wrong was I injected her lineage, all of the memories, all the imprints, everything in her lineage into me with mine.
What happened?
I almost died. I went for 30 days. I went through heat sweats. I went through visions. My body was transforming, but it wasn't, I put somebody else's lineage into my body. So I had to process all that stuff. And I was thinking at the time, well, maybe the masculine and the feminine coming together would even be more powerful, but I didn't realize later until I had a vision about what had happened to me because I went into meditation and I was like, what did I do? What did I do? And the message I got was you just injected yours and her lineage of all the traumas, of all the past life signatures, of everything. So her generation has, everybody's generation, like you get immune to like, let's say the plague in the 1600s or
Yeah.
something, the Black Plague and all this. Well, I hadn't gone through hers, right? So I had to go through all of the what her European family went through for millions of years and who knows how many other, past lives and everything, all the things that they've developed antibodies to that I hadn't. And I had to go through all those sicknesses and those pains and those traumas and getting all that stuff out. And I really believe if there was anybody else that would do that, they probably would have died.
How did you get through it?
Just lots of meditation and lots of adaptation and lots of, drinking my fresh urine and just going through it. It was pretty bad for the first 30 days, but then I started to slowly come out of it and slowly come out of it. And now, of course, I do feel if you look at a picture of me from a year ago, I probably look about 10 or 15 years younger than I did a year ago. I've lost
Well, by the
I've
way,
lost
one
some
thing,
weight. I've gotten, my brain, my eyes started to improve, which I've always had issues with. And all in all, I mean, I'm doing good. But I like I said, I many practitioners out there or many teachers out there don't practice what they teach, and I'm always practicing what I teach. And so that's the red mercury urine. But really, what I've been focused on teaching people now. Let's The biggest issue that we have in society right now is the transhumanism agenda,
oh yeah,
okay? The Bill Gates and the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab and Ray Kurzweil and all these individuals, they've been screaming in our face for years. I mean, they started this in 2000 roughly 16 going public with what they want to do,
they
right? They want
literally say it to us. It's written. It says, "Here's what we're going to do."
They say we are going to convert God's carbon-based life form, humans, into a silica-based cyborg system. And they've been doing that and doing that. And it's really we're at a place right now that we need to take responsibility for our own health. We need to become superhuman. And one of the things that we've found that's working better than anything else against this nanotechnology, because we started the first transhumanism research team, we have an electron microscope. We've been documenting all this stuff, all these changes. Right now on the planet, everybody is about 10% human and 10% machine. I can take blood from any single person and I can show whether vaxxed or unvaxxed. I can show synthetic red blood cells. I can show hydrogels. I can show nanotechnology. It's everywhere. I can go get any toothpaste from Whole Foods, toilet paper, any cereal, anything. It's everywhere. They're spraying nanotech and nanodust, smart dust everywhere in the sky with the chemtrails. It's in the water supply. It's everywhere. We can't focus on that though. What we have to focus on right now is you have to ask yourself, do I believe in myself? Do I love myself? Are you happy with the way that you look and feel right now? Are you at a weight right now that makes you happy? Is your life balanced? In other words, are you spending equal amounts of time at work, on your health, on your relationship, with your husband, with your kids? Is your life balanced? Most people's life is not balanced. And are you coming from a place of no ego, no judgment, no, with forgiveness? Because in 30 years, I've never given this grave warning, but our whole world has become synthetic, right? Agriculture's become synthetic. The
Yep,
money system is synthetic. The politics is synthetic.
all fake.
The air, the sky is now becoming synthetic and modified. They're modifying our sun, for God's sakes. I mean, this is the plan. They want every single thing connected to the cloud. And they even say, and the last part of this is to transform you. And they've already been doing it. And I can tell everybody right now the transhumanism agenda is going full speed ahead because Maha and all these other groups are not focused on it, and no one wants to hear it, and no one can even comprehend what's going on until it's too late.
Do you
See,
even
this
think
is
it's
why
possible to stop it?
it's not possible to stop it. It
So
is
what's
possible
your
for
solution?
you to stop it,
Yeah,
okay?
on
There's
an
nothing we
individual
can
level.
do. This is my whole point of like why I'm so serious with people right now. Because look at the people that are in all of our movement, right? Look at the freedom fighters. Look at the patriots. Look at the chiropractors. Look at the naturopaths. Look at all of the people that have woken up, right? Look at all of the Christians, or, it doesn't matter what religion, just look at all of the people. I mean, yes, the people, there's unawake people and then there's awake people. But you and I go to these seminars, right? We go to these big events, these big, massive freedom, patriotic, truth events. When you look around in the audience, very rarely do you see somebody that's not overweight and not healthy. I'm at a
Correct.
chiropractic conference with 3,000 chiropractors in the audience. 95% of them look unhealthy and they're all overweight. I go to a naturopathic conference. 95% of them are overweight. I mean, even the speakers that are on stage. There's 20 doctors coming up trying to teach you about your health, and they're all unhealthy. They're all overweight. I mean, what is going on? People are so addicted, and they're so addicted to their routines. Even the doctors, the good doctors, the natural doctors, the freedom fighters, the patriots, the truth tellers out there. We have to change this.
Yeah.
People, you have to start taking responsibility for your own health because they are changing you without your consent. And if you don't start taking responsibility and start being a superhuman yourself, one day when you get to 51%, I mean, people are going to be like, oh, yeah, Dr. Group has been warning us since 2018 about this, but nobody's paying attention to it. But that is why I keep telling people stop worrying about what's going on in the world. Stop worrying about what's going on with the government and what they're doing. Stop spending and wasting a bunch of time following and looking at what Maha is doing. You need to start focusing on yourself. Now is the time that you need to start really taking responsibility for your own health and your family's health because that is what's going to get you through it. Becoming a superhuman, becoming that enlightened being. We're all going through this together because there's a transformational shift. You're either going to transform or you're going to deform. The choice is yours. And what I teach and what I am going to be teaching is all of the ancient methods of how to do that. And urine is one of the biggest ones. And that's why the simplicity of it and what we've seen, especially with the cultivation of the stem cells, Wake Forest did a study on urine. They found that your urine has 140 roughly undifferentiated stem cells, mesenchymal stem cells, which can turn into any organ, right? Like these are your base stem cells. Every single one of us has drank our urine in the womb.
Yep.
Where do you think they get stem cells from for stem cell therapy? They get it from the placenta. They get it from the umbilical cord. They get it from the amniotic fluid. That is all urine, ladies and gentlemen. That is all made from urine, all of those organs and tissues. You drank your own urine when you're in the womb. People that are going out and getting all these stem cell treatments, they don't realize that stem cells also, there's two parts to a DNA. There's the physical component and there's the spiritual component. The energetic, the quantum signatures, okay? Those, if you take, and this happens, this is in the medical literature from people that get organ transplants, even blood transfusions or stem cells, all of a sudden they become depressed. Well, because the person they got it from was depressed. All of a sudden they're addicted to cigarettes or they're addicted to alcohol or they're addicted to chocolate. Somebody
It's
like,
the same
I never
thing.
even ate chocolate. Now all of a sudden I got stem cell therapy and now I'm like craving pickles or chocolate or something.
It's the same thing with your wife's red mercury urine. It's no different. You're taking in what you would call the lineage, the energetic, the spiritual blueprint. It happened with my father. He got stem cells from three different places. And we were working with a good friend of ours. His name is Damian Wynn. He's an energetic healer, spiritual healer, so on and so forth. And he started picking up on certain energies in my father that weren't his. And it's because he was getting energies on that level from somewhere completely different.
Exactly, exactly. And that's why I'm like, why are you going to pay $25,000 for like 10,000 stem cells when you can cultivate 100 million? By the way, when you cultivate the pure stem cells, the memory is clean. There's no disease memory. There's no nothing on that because the body intuitively knows in your urine to cultivate pure, clean, original source code stem cells. This is how easy it is to do, right? All you do is just take your urine and let it sit for 21 days, 18 to 21 days. At the end of 18 days, you're going to have roughly 100 million. Do you know how much it would cost you to get 100 million stem cells from someone? Probably like $1 million. You're going to have 100 million stem cells cultivated, pure, clean, original memory stem cells. And then all you do is take a 60 cc syringe with a silicone applicator, suck it up every day, and give yourself a mini enema and hold it in as long as you can. You're getting all those stem cells directly into your system every single day, and then you just do that until it runs out. Whatever. You have 16 ounces, 32 ounces, whatever. We usually recommend around 32 ounces. You do, 60 cc's a day. That's 2 ounces a day. It lasts you like 15 days. Take a break for a little while. You just got a whole stem cell therapy.
When you say enema, so usually enemas, I'm used to putting a lot of water and whatnot in that bag. You're saying only the urine.
Yeah, it's really not an enema where you're putting a bunch of water in there. All you're doing is taking a syringe, you buy them on Amazon, and they're the silicone applicators, and you're just sucking up, 30 cc's
So
or
nothing's
like
really going to come out after your body absorbs it.
no, especially if you lay down and put your legs up, it'll come down and your body will absorb it. But it just depends. A lot of times you can hold it in maybe for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's not a lot. It's 2 ounces. 60 cc's is two
Nothing.
ounces. 30 cc's is 1 ounce. So you're not putting a lot in there. You're just getting a stem cell treatment and it's going into your bloodstream.
By the
And
way,
it's
I
actually
gotta say
amazing.
for people who don't know this, because this is, you always want to look at somebody and say, okay, they're preaching something, but what are the impacts on them? Ed is 60 years old. Look at the man. This is insane. It's like I look at you sometimes and I'm like, how? How? And you're telling us how, but it's unbelievable
Well, my
because
hair's not gray either. My hair's
it's
my
not
original
gray.
color. So listen, I mean, what 60-year-old man, I tell you what, since I've been doing this sacred lovemaking procedures, it's transformed my life. What man, and I had to learn all this, and it took me about 6 or 7 months, through semen retention. But what they teach you in the ancient methods, how you can keep an erection for 3 hours. Like, what 60-year-old man can keep an erection for 3 hours, has no premature ejaculation, has no erectile dysfunction, and can perform a sacred lovemaking session for 3 to 4 hours at a time. Like that, you're like a sex god, right? You're
And
like a
that's the
lovemaking
way it
god.
should be. That's the way
And
it
that's
should
and
be.
that's and that's what's missing because you have the feminization of men and you
Yes.
have the masculization of women. And when you come together and you do these sacred lovemaking practices, by the way, there's a really good book called Tao of Sexology by Stephen Chang. That's the one I usually recommend. Montauk Chia is okay too, but really Michael Wynn, I think Michael Wynn was the one that wrote the first 7 books for Montauk Chia. Most people don't know that. And Michael, I've studied with him extensively, and he's gone um, way beyond Montauk Chia's teachings. So I try to learn from as many masters as possible, but in reality, it's really about and I've had some of my best meditations afterwards, and the energy that you feel, especially when you can go 3 hours in a sacred lovemaking session and not ejaculate, and then taking that. See, the semen is the life force of the male.
Yep.
We are taught, and all these kids are taught to just masturbate. And some of these kids, man, they're masturbating to porn like 6, 7 times a day. And they're life force. In the ancient days, they used to measure, your semen, the loss of your semen to your age. And the people that lived
Wow.
the longest period of time were the ones that lost the least amount of semen. Okay.
Could
They
there
didn't even
could
have masturbation. There's nothing in the ancient text that talks about masturbation. There's exercises you do to stimulate, but it's all based on semen retention. You're not supposed to ejaculate. You're supposed to keep
ever
energy, etc.
isn't there a point again, I'm no master in this, but with the little that I did a few years ago, because I've studied it not with a teacher, more so in this case through Montauk's books. I remember that there was a point where it said every so often you want to let it go. Is that true, or is that something you wouldn't recommend?
Well, in the ancient societies, they had the this is going way back. They had the White Tiger Society and they had the Jade Dragon Society. And the White Tiger Society were the females that were highly advanced in sacred lovemaking, and the Jade Dragons were the men that were super advanced in sacred lovemaking. And like I said, it was used for immortality and spiritual growth and spiritual enlightenment. And very few people even knew about this, or very few people were even ever even let into these secrets.
And
So the most precious gift a jade dragon could give to the white tigress was his semen. So every now and then, let's say maybe, depending on if it was once a month or once every 6 months or once every year, the jade dragon would offer up his semen in a ceremony to the white tigress. It was so highly energized. The white tigress, they said, within a couple of weeks would reverse her aging by 5 to 15 years by taking in the jade dragon semen, which was highly energized. So it was a very spiritual thing. Now, in modern times, there's calculations that say, you should release your semen, but that goes to, it's not, let me just say this, it's we're not talking about being celibate here. So semen retention is not being celibate. Semen retention is being able to retain your semen and bring the life force up into your body, into your cells, into an organ that needs to be healed, or into your third eye for maximizing your prayer or maximizing your meditations. As a matter of fact, they use it for manifesting. It was so successful that after a sacred lovemaking session, the male and the female after meditation or before meditation would use visualization and manifestation and the things that bringing that life force up. And the female, the juices of the female also are very powerful. So the juices of the female. It's not like not like the semen, but this is where the all the ancient practices. Where do you think qigong originated from? Qigong originated from these practices because you have to learn how to move energy. This is one of the things that's missing from and not ever taught to this current state. And to order to become a superhuman, you have to learn how to feel energy. Your aura in your biofield was actually considered for all the ancient, up until the last 100 years, your largest organ, right? If you had something wrong in your biofield, then it would translate to an organ.
yep,
So your energy and your vibration is the most important. And all of these teachings that I'm talking about are really all about raising your vibration and raising your energy. Like I said, creating the vibration of love. If you ever, in this, I've experienced this three or four times during, extended sacred lovemaking sessions, where your body almost starts to vibrate, and when you start generating the love, and you feel like this white spinning ball of light and love in every single cell in your body, and you go to this whole nother realm of pleasure and ecstasy that is like you can't even explain it. It's just, what we say an orgasm is today is nothing compared to what an energetic love, sacred lovemaking orgasm in when your whole body is vibrating and it can go on for hours instead of just having a quick orgasm like a male and then all your energy's gone. Why do you
everything.
think male just they're exhausted? They're exhausted after they, have an ejaculation because they just blew out all their life force energy. Imagine having over a 3 hour period of time, having multiple long lasting 3, 5, 10 minute internal orgasms of just nothing but pleasure of the most insane, feeling of love and connection and spirituality that you can imagine 100 times better than what it feels like to ejaculate or have a clitoral orgasm for a female, because a clitoral orgasm is basically the clitoris is just a small penis, right? So that's an external orgasm versus a vaginal orgasm or a G-spot orgasm or an A-spot orgasm. As a matter of fact, in the ancient text, they talk about the two in order to generate, you want to work on the two magnetic points of the woman, right? The two magnetic points of the woman are the back of the throat and the cervix. And the head of the penis is the positively charged magnet, and the throat and the cervix of the female is the negatively charged magnet. And there's techniques to where you can actually, during sacred lovemaking, bring the cervix down. And when you touch the head of the penis to the cervix, you have this spark, this magnetism of spark, and that's called a cervical orgasm for the women. It's one of the most powerful, according to the documentation, that a woman could ever have, is a cervical orgasm.
Wow.
However, in the ancient days and all the ancient writings, the white tigresses especially would get very powerful healing through touching the head of the penis to the back of their throat. And if you try this, there's a soft spot in the back of a woman's throat. And that once the head of the penis touches that soft spot, and the male can generate and run energy through that as well, then that will go. So the cervix brings the energy up, and the back, the point here, the magnetic point in the back of the throat, brings the energy down. You can meet at the heart chakra and just, I've done this with my wife a couple times, and it just hit, and her heart opened up. And she just started crying and just started releasing all this stuff. It's so
Wow.
powerful, these experiences, and you can generate the energy. Now, what did modern day skepticism and modern day brainwashing do? They created deep throating, and where women have no idea. They're just like, doing this, and they have no idea the
They like
power,
bastardized
and
all of it.
they're bastardizing it, and it can become negative. It can become a negative thing. Where in the ancient methods, this was a very, very powerful healing method, and it doesn't even have to. You don't even have to. You're holding the head right on the back of the throat, and just barely just pressing it, and it is so. I have watched amazing things happen with that, and so that's all written about in the ancient Taoist healing methods, and even the what we call, I don't even like to say sexual positions because that was invented as a negative word, but sacred lovemaking positions, even in the Kama Sutra and in the ancient Taoism texts, were all developed. The positions, the original, if you trace it back, the original positions were designed specifically for the head of your penis to touch the cervix, or designed to produce different energy and acupuncture points, or designed to be able to heal certain conditions. It was never like sex for fun and all this masturbation. It was the highest level of energy and vibration and immortality and spirituality you could obtain.
It's so fascinating how, I mean, we just brought up two topics here, topics that most people don't even understand how they're intertwined, and you're intertwining them, and it makes sense because you have urotherapy, and then you have what you call sacred lovemaking, which I love because you're making the love instead of having sex or effing, like you said. And it's a completely different energy. And what I actually never thought of, I learned a lot of things throughout this conversation here, but what I never thought of is how through sacred lovemaking, you can actually enhance the power of the urine, which makes sense, right? You have the ability to bless water and change the molecular structure of that water. Now, this is just doing that on steroids in the best possible way, only infusing it with the energy of love, if you will, and that power that comes with it. So, I mean, there's so many directions that this can go. And I know that there's going to be a lot that you're going to be covering and teaching, but I want to ask you a big picture question. I don't think I've ever asked you this. If you had to define what superhuman looks like as a vision, right? If you were to close your eyes and tell me not just what's possible, I believe we're completely subnatural right now, not natural, but subnatural. And I don't even like the word superhuman because I think our natural state should be that's what we call super state. Now, so what is your vision for what we can attain when coming back to our natural selves? How will our lives look like practically in this world as it is, with all the garbage, with all the stressors, with all the mainstream media? How can somebody walk away learning what you're going to be teaching? And what could their life look like, I should ask? What could their life look like in the modern day world?
The ultimate goal of why I believe we're here is to become enlightened beings. And what that means, according to all the ancient texts, is dying while living. In other words, getting to a point where you have full control over your mind, your body, and your soul. You're in full connection with God. And when you go into meditation, you're able to access the kingdom of heaven within. That's why they called it dying while living, because you're in meditation and you go so deep within that you connect with the audible life stream. You connect with God's consciousness and God's energy. And when you do that, you're able to travel through the astral plane, through the causal plane, and you're able to travel eventually all the way up and merge directly into God Himself. And that is the ultimate goal of all this, and that would be the ultimate definition of superhuman. And the human race is the only race that has the ability to do that. It's just these are the secrets that have been lost and kept secret only for secret societies, only for the elite to use as control, etc. But this is the true definition of what a superhuman is recognizing that you have the power and you have the ability to get to a point where you can literally control time, you can control, whatever you want, but it takes practice and it takes work. You don't need to go to that level, but still, just being able to preserve, being able to understand how to eliminate any disease. And it really goes back to what Tesla said, everything is energy, vibration.
Yep.
And most people have no idea how to feel their own energy, test their own energy, enhance their own energy. And this is why, even with the sacred lovemaking, that qigong, it was the same system, because with the qigong you learn how to move your sexual energy so it doesn't get stagnant. So sexual energy gets stagnant in most people. I can walk around and I can just point out, like, most women 40 plus are extremely sexually frustrated. They're holding all their stuff, men too, but women, you can see it on their face, because number one, women have gone, when they're going through their menopause, when their hormones are all off, from 40 plus on, 50 plus on, they really have a tough time. And, it's hard to find a guy that can satisfy them. A 40 or 50-year-old guy just can't last. Do you know the average lasting time right now has gone down to 5 seconds to like a minute and a half?
What?
Women need like 20 minutes. In the ancient texts and the times, it talks about, every one of them is consistent. It talks about how important it is to stimulate the woman's master gland before sacred lovemaking.
What is a master
Woman's
gland?
master gland is her breasts. Okay. The breasts are the master gland that control the adrenals, the hormone system. Every hormonal system in the woman is controlled through the breasts. Pituitary, hypothalamus, thyroid, everything. It teaches you techniques in these books of how to massage a woman's breast. The right, if I'm on the right breast, I'm moving clockwise. If I'm on the left breast, I'm moving counterclockwise. And the points underneath the breast all the way down to the belly button, there's 6 points, and then you go to the belly button. You can, what they teach in the ancient methods is, when you use this specific type of breast massage, it opens the woman up and it relaxes all of her glands, and it prepares her yoni. The yoni was the term in the ancient Taoism for the woman's vagina. They call it the yoni, and that translates to sacred opening. Okay, so everything was like sacred lovemaking. The yoni was the sacred opening, and it creates the when you massage the breast in a certain way, it lubricates the yoni and it opens the yoni up. So the yoni should always be wanting to accept the male's They call it jade stock, jade dragon, whatever in the ancient days. But anyway, the male's penis into the yoni, and the all the reflexology points of a woman are in the first 2 inches of her yoni, and a lot of the reflexology points are all over the male's penis. But in the ancient days, they would say they called it the 9 levels of orgasm, where the male would only penetrate the first 2 inches of the female's vagina initially to stimulate all of the reflexology points to open up the whole system. It's like an acupuncture treatment, right? So they would do nine. Right? They did everything in three, sixes, and nines. So when they started making love, they would do 9 short strokes,
Mm.
or actually, I'm sorry, 8 short strokes. I mean, yeah, 8 short strokes to stimulate all the acupressure points, and then one long. So that would be the nine. So they would start with eight
And they would
short,
repeat
one,
that.
and then they would do 7 short, two deep, and then they would do 6 short, three deep, and then they would go through that whole cycle. And that was the cycle that they proved over thousands of years would generate, open up, release, any tightness, emotions, and bring the woman to the ninth level of orgasmic state, which is the state where they're vibrating in the frequency of love.
Wow. This is amazing.
That technique is actually talked about in the Tao of sexology. Now, Tao is spelled Tao, so it's kind of confusing. Some people call it Tao, but in the Chinese pronunciation, the T is pronounced as D, so it's actually Taoism. But the book is Tao, Tao, of sexology, by Stephen Chang. And even though I've studied with a lot of these different masters, I still think this is the first best description of and level of understanding the sacred lovemaking and how efficient it is at cleaning and healing the mind, the body, and the soul. If you want to detox the mind, the body, and the soul, yes, okay, I'm all for doing parasite cleansing and chemical and heavy metal cleansing and all that. But the energetic part of it can be you can transform your life by doing these practices. It's transformed my life.
How can people prepare for those that are coming in January in Miami? How can people prepare from now until then to get the most out of at least what you're sharing?
The best way you can prepare is to start now at cleaning your body, cleaning your mind, and cleaning your soul. Do a couple liver cleanses, do a parasite cleanse, do a chemical and heavy metal cleanse, take care of your temple. If you're at least 10, 15 or more pounds overweight, lose 10 pounds, lose 15 pounds. Come to the superhuman event in the best possible shape that you can be in, because it's going to be simple, easy, free techniques that have been used and proven for thousands of years, is what I'm teaching, that you can implement immediately that will transform your life into a superhuman life.
It's amazing. On that front of what you said, and we were on that boat together in Croatia for a week, and I kept telling you, I'm like, Ed, ever since everything happened with my dad, I've been eating like an animal. And who am I to speak at this event if I'm not going to do what I'm saying needs to be done? So, a lot of people know, but I'll say it here. One of the reasons, of a few reasons, but one of the reasons I decided to do that 30-day fast was because I knew I had to recenter myself. And by the way, although I'm done with the 30 days, I'm still doing things every single day. And I will continue doing things every single day up until that event and after that event as well. But I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying, because the clarity of this vessel, the purity of the vessel will dictate how much you can retain and what you can even understand. Because you may be hearing the words that are going to come out of my mouth or Ed's mouth or Robert Edward Grant or Dr. Brian Artist, whatever it is. But just because you hear them doesn't mean you're receiving them from the level that they're being given. And if you can meet that energy, then the amount that you'll be able to receive will be so much more, tenfold, a hundredfold, and so on and so forth. So, like Ed said, clean your vessel, not just on a physical level. The physical is important, but the energetic is the root to all of that. Meditate, breathe. By the way, Ed, I didn't even tell you before this conversation that we're having here, I did an hour and a half breath work meditation, guided, just downstairs. Somebody came over to guide me through it. And you were speaking about these etheric astral realms. I mean, I was there. I was there. It's amazing what breath can do. It's like I don't want to call it a drug because that's a negative connotation, but I was high and I was high on something that my body has naturally. So breath work, meditation, journaling every single day, these things help you. They take toxicity and garbage out of the mind, which is the root of absolutely everything that shows up in the body. Like Ed said, your aura is your largest organ. Before we forgot that, and now it's like not a thing anymore.
By the
So
way, the sacred lovemaking techniques, I didn't get a chance to mention it, but breath
sure.
is one of the main things that's involved in that process. Breath is amazing. And it's talked about and it's utilized in all of the ancient texts. Breath work
Incredible.
yeah, is so healing, and that's why the Taoists talk about breathing the fusion of the five elements. They have the heart, which is the color red, the liver, which is the color green, the lungs, which are white, the kidneys, which are blue, they're the water element, and then the spleen and stomach, which is yellow. And so a lot, even during sacred lovemaking, even without sacred lovemaking, they have techniques to where you can stimulate those by breathing and then you visualizing the blue coming into the kidneys or the red coming into the heart or the white coming into the lungs. So yeah, all of these ancient methods are very simple and they're all free, right? It's qigong, which is free. It's urine therapy. It's relaxation. It's inner smile. It's cultivating energy. It's sweating. Is very important. It's merging the female and the masculine energies together. That's how you get love, by the way. That you can love yourself and you can generate high frequencies, but when you love is really a connection between it's a merging and a magnetic pulse of energy when you hit the female and the masculine energies together. Everything here is yin and yang, right? You have the positive and the negative. So the true love, that the people want to feel is only comes together and that spark happens and vibrates when the masculine and the feminine connect magnetically. So yeah, all of that stuff we're going to be talking about. So don't miss out. This is going to be probably the event of the year for sure. And you're going to learn things here that you've never learned from anyone else at any event.
Especially with Ed. The man's incredible with what he brings to the table. Ed, I want to say thank you very much for your time. I look forward to January to be able to share that stage with you. And for all of you that are watching, you can use the link in the description below to learn more about the event, get your tickets to the event while they last. That's jasonshurka.com/superhuman or just my website. You'll get there one way or another, and it will bring you to everything you need to know about the event. I look forward to seeing you guys there. Ed, I look forward to seeing you there, but I know I'm going to see you before. And may we have beautiful and blessed times ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you.